Sorry, I'm back with a friend.
Oh, good. I was hoping you would. Yes. First time.
Yes. We got it.
There's screaming bloody murder, and I'm the only way to stop it. So,
welcome to Social Kick. We got the full crew. I'm Brian Lundquist. He's Dr. John Mullen. We've got Luke Paddington and a distance extraordinaire, swimmer of many laps, Team USA legend and mom, Ashley Twichell. What's going on, Ashley? How are you?
I'm good. I'm adjusting to life as a family of four humans and a dog, so 5. But it's good. We've got a new daughter as of like a little less than 3 weeks ago. So this is actually like my first little like escape away from both kids. So it's nice.
Hell yeah. We'll take any sort of escape. Speaking of escapes, I want to know, what do you think you could go in a 1500 at 40 weeks pregnant? What do you think you could have done?
I don't know. I was actually planning on doing a 400 at 40 weeks pregnant just to see. I think my last one I was at like 34 weeks and I went like 454 in the 400. But then I ended up getting induced early because my baby was flipping from breech to non-breech to breech. So I never got a chance to do it. But I would think I could hold around 1:16 pace. So whatever that would be for a 1500.
Damn. Luke, what do you think you could do?
I could hold a 1:16 pace for about 300.
I don't think you could even do 300. I think you maybe try to get 100.
No, I can do 1:16 pace for 300 now.
Luke's trying to look up instructions on how to even put on a suit because he's getting ready for Masters Worlds, and so he's got a competition suit, and he's all stoked about it, but he hasn't raced in many years, and so now he's asking us for instructions on how to even tie the suit.
Finis is sending us a suit, and they gave us special instructions to tie a suit. I have tied a suit maybe 4 million times in my life. I think I know how to tie a suit, but it said no, with our suit, tie it differently. I'm like, so let's see what happens when I get the suit. It's interesting.
There you go. Where are Worlds?
Worlds at Singapore.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Same as cool. What are you swimming?
Okay.
Do you do any distance?
I got asked to swim on a relay.
Doing the 25-yard free.
It's the first time doing a Masters Games, and it's on the relay, the 4x50 free relay and a 4x50 medley relay. So completely not what you do at all. But
I'm jealous.
Don't be jealous of the 50 breaststroke. I'm really worried. They have me swimming breaststroke. I'm really worried about swimming a 50 breaststroke. Like, will my, legs survive? I don't know.
Your knees.
I think you should just be worried about your image.
It's true. My style is still 1980s. The head doesn't go below.
Keep it nice and low.
Exactly.
My brother's claim to fame is winning a Masters national title. It was in the 200 fly, but you can. In Masters, I don't know if it's still true. This was 15 years ago. You could substitute the fly kick for breaststroke kick. So that's what he did the last 50. But he won. So
that's amazing.
See, I would be doing it the other way around. Every time I do breaststroke, I'm doing it with a dolphin kick.
With a dolphin kick?
Yeah. I retired from breaststroke kicking. Period.
Just dolphin
kick. I remember doing and I swam the 200 IM once, yards at some garbage meet that was just a training meet, some small meet, and it was an age group thing. So there were a bunch of kids, but this was when I was post college, so I don't know the ethics of this, but I didn't do a regular breaststroke kick. I did dolphin kick in the real race, and then the official came up to me and he's like, "You're dolphin kicking?" I was like,
"Excuse me."
Yeah, I was. And I felt so bad. I was because he had to say it. He had to state and tell me my disqualification. I don't know what the rules are now, but at the time they came up and told you. And so
So you weren't trying to hide it. You were just blatantly doing a dolphin kick every time you.
No, I was blatantly doing it. But
yeah.
I don't know. Is that setting a bad example? I don't think so. I think it's fine. It's just I was an adult. I could do whatever I wanted at that point. Kids, if you want to do dolphin kick on breaststroke, fine. You're gonna get DQ'd, but you can do it.
Can you swim whatever stroke you want in open water? Can you switch it up?
You can. I had to do breaststroke during my 25K because I literally couldn't take another stroke of freestyle. So I was I need to do something. So I made sure I did it at the end of the straightaway. So people couldn't see me, but I had to resort to breaststroke. I was I can't get through this. I can't lift my arms anymore.
Why breaststroke? I would do backstroke because I think backstroke, relieves it. But why the breaststroke?
Just
Felt
like
good.
literally like lifting my arm like
just
up.
this.
Yeah.
Anything overhead was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And then backstroke also, like I would not know where I was going and I didn't want to go any further than I had to. I was in pure survival mode.
So I've raced a bunch of triathlons, and one time I had food poisoning the night before a triathlon, and it was a half Ironman. I made it through like 25 miles of the bike, which is a little less than half of it. And then I was like, I just can't anymore. I'm going so slow, and I needed to bail. And so I just pulled off on the side of the road, and then I could like, ride my bike back into downtown. It was like on me to kind of like disqualify myself from the race.
Yeah.
Have you ever been around somebody disqualifying themselves from an open water race? Like you just like raise your hand and like get picked up by a kayak or something?
I think I mean, there are like definitely in like either really cold or really hot races, there are people who will be like, I'm out, like for whatever reason. Like at my last open water, one of my last open water races was Pan American Games in 2023 in Chile, and the water was cold and like several people just got out.
I have a story on that. I was at the Caribbean Championships last month and I was commenting the 5K swim. And I had like the walkies from the officials so I could find out who was going around what buoy so I could comment on the results. But that walkie was also what would say swimmer 24 has I would say the course or has a medical emergency. And the amount of panic that they would have across the walkies about medical emergency, I was like, guys, chill, do more professional about it. Like, medical emergency, pull it, quick, go to boy 2. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, open water is a whole different beast than pool swimming.
B, I have some bad news to break to you, I think. You might be a bad example. Everything you're talking about, you're getting DQ'd during.
What else did I get DQ'd? What are you talking about?
You said you got pulled back, or you didn't the breaststroke, and then the triathlon.
I disqualified myself. Well, that's true. I guess in both cases I did disqualify myself. Maybe it's just, you know what, John? This is the right
Do you
message.
do anything legally? Come on,
man. The race is more about you and what you want to get out of it than the end result. Okay, be about the process. Be about the journey. These are lessons you need to take away.
Yeah, let me write this down.
Okay. So Ashley, you recently had a child, baby number 2. Daughter came during the Kentucky Derby. Was it actually during the Derby? Was anybody watching the Derby on the TV in the room?
So my mom and my husband were both in the hospital room. Sam was with my son, and like I said, I was induced because the baby kept flipping, so they wanted to make sure she was in the right position. And so, I was induced like Friday night at 11 p.m. basically, and then Saturday things were like progressing slowly, and I think at like 4 p.m. I got the epidural, and so then I'm kind of like I couldn't really feel anything, so I don't know what's going on. The doctor came in at like 7, or I think the Derby went off at like 6:57. The doctor came in at like 6:55 and checked, and my mom and my husband are like glued to the TV, and he like the doctor like very like calmly was just like, "You're a 10, you're ready to push," and my mom and husband didn't hear him. They're just like staring at the TV. I'm like, hello, I'm about to push. And he like, the doctor turned around and was like, all right, the race is about to go off. So we all watched the race. And then he was like, okay, let's push. And then I had the baby. It was wild. And it was funny because that morning, my mother-in-law texted. My mother-in-law texted our family chat that morning. It was like, let's bet on whether or not she has the baby, or let's bet on whether she has the baby before or after the Derby. And it ended up being like, I pushed for like 15 minutes, so like 15 minutes after.
Did it? So who won the bet?
My mother-in-law said no, and I didn't. Technically, I had her like right after. So
if your daughter got a horse name instead of her real name, what would her horse name be?
Well, so we were deciding between 2 names, and my husband and I went to the hospital with my son, my first one, not knowing the name, and we like promised ourselves we wouldn't do that the second time, and of course. We still did it the second time. We had 2 names. And for whatever, I don't really know why, but when she was born, he was like, all right, Grayson sounds more of like a Kentucky Derby name. Our other name was Kaya. And so we were like, all right. And that was my top choice anyway. So I was like, okay, sounds good.
Man,
there we go.
In the moment things. That's so crazy. Luke, you have kids. Did you guys have like an in the moment decision?
We had a list of like 5. But when we saw my son, it's just like, yeah, he's a Noe. It just like, it came to us there. My daughter took like 12, 24 hours, and then it came to us, but it comes to you when you see it. It's something about it. I don't know what it is.
See, that's what I heard. That's what I was like, okay, we'll know when we see them. And then my son came out and I was like, I don't know.
Who the hell's
He's just
this kid?
a little thing. I have no idea what he is. And so the like lady with the birth certificate kept coming to our hospital room like every hour. And we were like, we still don't know. And then finally we just decided. But I kept being like, oh, we'll know when we have him. And then with my daughter, oh, we'll know when we have her. And then we were like, I don't know.
We looked up the meaning of the names, and Noe was a peaceful, soul, and that was like a name. For me, my parents didn't know my name for like 2 weeks, so they put, I think, Boise or something. like they had like boy or some boy. Like I had no name for like a week or two. And talk about names, I made my college swim team because my coach didn't understand my accent. So we had cuts, and they have the names of the people who got cut, and I would go up, my name's not there, I dive in, I swim. Show up the next day, more cuts, I kept swimming. And about 6 months into the season, well after cuts were all done, the physios treated my shoulder, and I go, wait, your name is Luke? It's not Paul? I thought it was Paul. Your coach thinks it's Paul. And so I made a swim team because my coach thought my name was Paul. And obviously must have put
so
Paul
funny
on the list, and it got me cut. And I God, this guy's got perseverance.
But what happened to Paul, really? Let's hear the follow-up to this. His whole life was downhill from there.
That's
so names
amazing.
are important. Names are important.
This character of yours, this alias. Actually, and speaking of names too, my name is spelled with a Y now, Brian with a Y, but it wasn't at first. So my first birth certificate had Brian with an I, and then my mom changed her mind like several weeks later, and then went back and had it changed. So these things are never final. You could change it at any point.
You could still change it, yeah.
So,
Have you changed your surname, Ashley, at all to Wall? Yeah.
I have, legally I changed it like right after we were married. So almost 10 years ago now. And then, in hindsight, I'm not really sure why I made it, because legally I'm Wall, but like swimming wise, I still go with Twichell. So, it probably would have been easier to just like keep Twichell, but I knew I wanted like the same last name as my kids and all that stuff. So, but I did legally change it right after.
Nice.
Yeah. And then honestly, if I had known I was going to keep swimming for 10 more years, I probably would have like just transitioned to Wall in the swimming world too. But I was like, I probably got like a year or two left swimming. I'll just keep Twichell, and then here I am still swimming. So
what's one more year? One more year.
That's how it started back in 2011. In 2011, it was like, I'll just swim through the summer. And then it was just, always like one more year.
Well, where are you now then?
Yeah.
Where am I now? Now I'm kind of back where like I was after I had my son. Like I'm going to see it. It seems like very overwhelming right now to like get back into training to figure out a balance. But I felt the exact same way, maybe even more so after I had my son, and managed to make it work, and actually found a really good balance and was super, super happy, and can't imagine not having had this swimming to kind of balance like motherhood. So I'm hoping I can find that again. But having 2 under 3 right now is kind of like, whoa.
So those who are listening for the first time, I just want to recap, Ashley. So you had your son in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
A year later, you win the 10K at Pan Am's.
Mm-hmm. A year and a half.
Year and a half.
Like 16 months. Yeah.
After having a child and raising a child. And then a year later, you narrowly missed Olympic team in a completely different sport, the 1500 pool swim, which is a whole different animal. That's incredible.
Thank you.
That's. I mean, I can't think of a swimmer who's achieved any of that. Come close to that. So, I mean,
thank you.
None of us are moms, but to go through that and to achieve what you've done, fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really cool. I had no idea what to expect either. And even coming back to, I remember like vividly. So I like waited until I got like the doctor's clearance which ended up being 8 weeks after I had my son. And I was like super excited just to like get back in the pool. And I think I swam like 1,000 or something. And at the end of it, I was like, I'm just going to see what I can do in like 100-yard freestyle. and I put a buoy in. I wore a buoy, I don't know. And I went a 112 and I was like, oh man, like this is going to be way more humbling than I thought it was, like way harder than I thought it was. And in some ways it wasn't, in some ways it wasn't. I felt like it came back a little faster than I thought I would, but like, I'll never get back to training like the way I trained when I was 21, 22, 23. Like like how I trained when I was at Mission Viejo, like I'll never be able to do that again, but I don't think that means that like my competition times can't be, similar or possibly better. And so just kind of having a little bit of a different mindset and knowing that like, I can't train like that. I can't do that volume anymore. I can't necessarily do that intensity. I need more recovery, and like, that's okay. I think that was the hardest part for me, was like wrapping my mind around that mentally. Like training can look a lot different and I can still produce really good results.
Yeah, I mean, you're already proven it that you've adapted your training and your whole life compared to, when you were in your younger 20s and going amazing times still. I think a lot of times, and I know us three guys, we talk about it. It's like, oh, I would have changed this if I was still training or at this age. Looking back, anything you would have changed or you think would have maybe made you even better when you were younger with what you know now?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't change anything. I think I've loved my journey. I think it's hard to look back and not say I'm happy I didn't make the Olympic team in 2012. Like, of course, like that was really tough. And like, I think I'd be lying to myself if I said like, I'm glad I didn't make it. I don't know if it's like that, but I do think that I learned so much from that. And I don't think I would have I know I wouldn't have kept swimming as long as I did if I had made that Olympic team. Honestly, missing that Olympic team in 2012 so narrowly was what like really lit the like fire in me to make an Olympic team. I wasn't like a kid who like growing up was like, I want to be an Olympian like that. I loved swimming. Like I loved it, but it wasn't like I didn't watch the Olympics and be like, I want to be up there, like on the medal podium. And, that like was never like my dream. I loved it. I loved working hard. I loved being with my friends. I loved being coached. Like I loved training, but like the Olympics wasn't necessarily like the end goal for me when I was growing up and really even through college. And so, I had amazing coaches growing up, but I did like really low yardage through high school. And so looking back, I'm like, yeah, like sometimes I wonder like, what if I had been in a program in high school that had been not even high volume, but just like decent volume and more intensity. And, like, could I have gone to it at the time, like better swimming school, maybe, but like I wouldn't have traded my 4 years at Duke for anything. Like I absolutely loved it. My coaches there were amazing. Dan Clellas, who pushed me to keep training after college. And then when I went out to Mission Viejo, like Coach Rose was like so confident in my abilities. And he was like, I think you can become an Olympian. And that's when I was kind of like, okay, like maybe I can. And then, like I said, when I missed the team, it was like, whoa, like maybe I really do want this. And like, it is within reach. And then it's been really cool for me to see that, like, I've trained at a lot of different programs. Like I said, high school is pretty low volume, low intensity, which I'm really kind of glad for. I think it allowed me to still have like a really typical high school, like life, which I'm grateful for. And then I went to college and it was a little bit more volume, a little bit more intensity. And then I went to Mission Viejo and it was a lot more volume and a lot more intensity. And then I moved back to North Carolina and dropped down again and did singles. And so, and I got better everywhere I went. And so I think that's been really cool to see. And something I try to tell like younger athletes is like, there's not like a one size fits all. And I think it's really easy now, especially with social media, to like be like, compare yourself and like, well, this person's doing this, I should be doing this. But like, just because someone else is doing something doesn't mean it would work for you. And there are like a lot of different ways you can get to where you want to be. And I've been able to like see that firsthand through my career, which I think has been really, really cool.
Yeah. You are breaking some serious stereotypes in our sport. And I want to just underline that and talk about it. Women delay having a family for their career, right? But you didn't. In track and field, I believe the short Jamaican sprinter, forgot her name, but she had a child and she came back and made the Olympics. So women like you are proving that off. You are the stereotype of volume to swim a 10K. You are changing that idea, that philosophy. And then also recently we had Mariah Dennigan. I think Mariah said that the age open water swimmers tend to go into their 30s and tend to be older in the sports and keep going. Talk about that. Talk about how you just not accepting what is out there and you're just doing what you think is best for you and see what happens. And look what's happening. You're breaking stereotypes.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I will say, and I really appreciate it. I do think I fell into the trap of like thinking you can't have a family and be a professional athlete or perform at the highest level. And I do think I delayed starting a family longer than I would have if this wasn't like my profession. I didn't know how it would look. And so initially when I was planning on retiring after 2020 and then it became 2021. And then once I stayed in the water during my pregnancy. And then once I had my son, I was kind of like, well, maybe we can make it work. But I fell into that trap too. Like I didn't think it was possible either. And especially in our sport where like, if you're not performing, you're not making money. It's scary and it's tough. I think, the USOPC and the USA Swimming have, like just very recently come a long way and helping to support mothers and athletes who are trying to start families. And that's been really important, but it's hard. It's hard to find the balance. It's hard to, leave your kids to go compete or to pay to bring them with you. I nursed my son for a year and a half while I was training and competing. That was hard too. And logistically it's tough, but, I'm proud of myself for the past 3 years. I think it's been really cool. And even now, like, I'm like, well, I would love to keep training, but like, I'm getting old, but I don't feel old. So I'm like, I need to just forget about the number and see what I can do. Like last summer at Olympic trials, I think I was like 12 seconds off my best time in the mile, but, I also, this quad would have an extra year. Like it was a short quad because of COVID. And so, I think it would be cool to see what I could do. Like I said, I don't think my training will ever get back to what it was, but that's okay. And I think, my mile and my 10K could still be really good. So it's been cool. And I'm really grateful, to have had the experience and to see what it was like to become a mom and then train too. Because if you had told me that 15 years ago, like I would have thought you were absolutely crazy.
You were talking about when you first got back in the water and what that realization of like, okay, this is maybe not going to be as easy as I thought. But we had an audience question. If you want to submit audience questions for our guests at Social Kick Swim on Instagram and YouTube. This one was from V Swimming 2028, who was asking, what was your biggest challenge that you faced?
I think my biggest challenge was in the first like few months coming back to training. Postpartum was just like a shock. After my first child was just a shock to me in like all of the ways, just like that. My husband and I had been married for 6 years at that point. Like we had our life as like the two of us. And then like to all of a sudden have a baby, it was just kind of like this shock of like identity. I obviously wasn't swimming for 8 weeks after having him. So like losing both like the swimming and just like the loss of independence, I felt like, but then so you would think like, oh my gosh, I want to get to the pool and kind of get away and have my independence for a little bit. But I also had this anxiety of like, I can't leave my like 8-week-old son and I don't know who I trust to take care of him. And so balancing that was really hard. And for the first like month, my sister-in-law would actually come to the pool with me and watch him at the pool. It just like made me feel better to like have him close by. And I would only swim for like an hour. And I realized like how good it was for me mentally and physically, just to like be in the water and have that little bit of time. And so then obviously as he got older and I got more comfortable being a mom, I got more comfortable with like the logistics of being able to pump and have him have a bottle, like all of that. I had him in the end of May, and I would say by like November, I was like, we were into a good groove. And that's then when I would start swimming in the mornings and my husband would be home with my son. And then I would come home and he would go to work. And so that's when we found like a really good balance and got comfortable with it. But the first few months, it was a lot of, it was a really big learning curve, I think, for everyone, for me, my husband, my coach, like all of us to try to figure it out. That was, I hope I didn't like make it like, like social media is a highlight reel. I hope I didn't make it look easy because it wasn't, it was hard in a lot of ways, physically, but also mentally for sure.
There was another audience question from YKCam_D who was asking, how do you stay motivated when you don't want to go to practice or work out? And I don't know if that's like if you don't want to, but also when there's all these other things that are going on that are like objectively bigger priorities in your life. Did you look at swimming as an escape, like coming back to some independence of like a place that was a stable place for you for a long time? What made you choose to prioritize coming back to the pool?
Yeah, I think you know that. I think it was kind of a combination of everything. I think when I got back in, it was kind of like, okay, like, yeah, I became a mom and I do have a new identity and my life has of course changed, but like, I'm still me and like, I still loved swimming. And so that felt really, really good. And then especially as he got older, like I was a professional athlete, but I'm also a stay-at-home mom. And so having those like 2 to 3 hours to myself, whether it was, just swimming or swimming and then dry land. And most of it was while he was still sleeping. And then and my husband got to spend solo time with him, which was awesome. And then I'd come home and I'd have the rest of the day with him. And it made me a better mom too, to have a little bit of time to myself. And I think it took a little while for me to like realize that was okay. And it was actually healthy. And, I want to show him and my son and my daughter now that it's important to take care of yourself and figure out what you need. And that makes you be able to show up for others better too. And then, as he's gotten older, like it was so cool to have him at Olympic trials last summer, and he won't remember it, but like we will. And so that was really, really special too. So I think a combination of all of it was what motivated me to get back in. And there are definitely days where I woke up and especially, he wasn't a great sleeper for 6 months. He is now. And, now we're dealing with a newborn who obviously isn't a good sleeper. And so there are mornings where I would wake up and be like, I don't know if I can do this, but I know from 30 years of doing it now, like I will feel so much better if I go. And then I think kind of trying to compartmentalize, like when I'm at the pool, like that's what I'm focusing on. And then when I'm home, that's what I'm focused on, my home life and my family life. And that's how I was in college too. Like I get asked a lot, like, how did you balance like the academics and social life and swimming? And I think, I wasn't perfect at it, but I really tried hard to like, when I was swimming at Duke, like I was in the pool and I was focused on that. When I was in class, I was focused on that. When I was out with my friends, I was focused on that. And so I think that's been a really important part of my life too.
What's Becca going to do without her training buddy for a while?
She texts me every day being like, I wish you were swimming with me. I'm like, me too. Like I got like 2 hours of sleep last night and I'm home with a 3-week-old and a 2-year-old. But no, she has good training partners there right now. And it's been really cool to see her kind of comeback journey as well. It's different than mine, but in a lot of ways it's the same. We both came back because we absolutely love the sport. We have such a passion for it. And she more than me, like that girl, like you can look at like the hardest practice in the world and she's like, I'm so excited to do this. And it's like, come on, Becca, like who's excited to do 6 1,000s? Like, yeah. But she loves it.
6 1,000s. What's a practice that you have that reaction to, and what's a practice that you see that to most people they'd be like, oh my god? I mean, we're all sprinters, so I'm curious, like, what's like your kind of sweet spot when it comes to training versus what scares you?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that's definitely changed throughout my career. One workout that I don't know why I did some crazy stuff in Mission Viejo. My first week out there, I got there on a Wednesday night, and starting that next Monday, my first full week was 100K week. And I remember calling my dad on Friday morning and being like, I love training. I love volume, but I don't think I can do this. Like, and we did so much that by Saturday morning, we only had to do like 5,500 to reach 100K. Like it was crazy. And so but like, I loved that. Like I loved the volume and the intensity, but a practice that really stood out to me was, we did 8, and Coach Rose sent it to me before like we got to the pool. And I remember seeing it and being like, this is impossible. But it was 8 800s, long course, 8 800s on 10 minutes, descend 1 to 4, 5 to 8. But Coach Rose was really big on ceiling time. So like times you couldn't go above. So I had my ceiling time for number 1 and number 5. So my descent had to start under 9:15. And I was like, this is wild. But my numbers 4, 7, and 8 were all under 9 minutes, which I was like, so happy. And it was a practice that like looking at it, I was like, I can't do this. And that's something that Coach Rose was so good at, was like setting the bar really high and then like convincing you that like you could do it. And of course there were practices where like he would do that and I would fall short, but that's a practice that stood out that like looking at it, I was like, there's no way. And it's one that I was really proud of. And like, I think also it helps when you're feeling good. So like that was a practice. Like I felt really good. I was swimming really well. It was still really hard, but like a good hard. And so, that was like a fun one looking back. But like, if you handed that to me right now, I'd be like, there's no way.
I mean, so I swam, my best event was 50 butterfly and 50 freestyle. So like by the end of the career, I ended up being like a pure sprinter. But like I swam the 100, I was 200 in high school. But when I was at Auburn, we did the main test set. One of the main ones in the fall was 3 800s long course. And it was, I remember being so nervous to come to the pool every time that we did 3 8s. And it was 3 8s on 10 minutes. But there were also 450s on a minute in between each rep. So, I mean, it's on a minute long course isn't like slow, but for recovery, but we had some extra recovery in between. And the best I ever averaged on just 3 of them with those extra 50s in between was 9:16. So it's just so crazy to me to think that was like the ceiling of the slowest pace that you could go. And I think the best averages on our team, that was like, you know, Haley Pearsall, Adrian Binder were going fast then. There was like in the 840s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was
Coach Rose's like MO, like hand you a practice that was like really hard and then like somehow make it even harder. Like just like like even like I said, like 800s on 10 minutes, you're already like, oh man, and then he gives you a ceiling time and it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, because that's a very different set with a ceiling, because a descent is like, okay, it's like, you know, pink, red,
right,
purple, but he's making you go red, purple,
yes,
purple.
Yeah.
No, John
can't do it.
So what happened if you went slower than the ceiling?
It was mainly like the disappointment of Coach Rose.
Yeah. Just that alone was enough,
like,
right? It's not like, you're going to keep going.
That's like
and
worse
going.
than getting yelled at. Like,
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the disappointment of like, especially when he's like, I know you can do this. And then you don't, it's like, oh man. But of course, I mean, there were practices. Yeah. We would also do like 4,000, 3,000, 2,000, 1,000 with 1,000 being like all out. Like, but again,
Typical
like
Tuesday. Tuesday
you hand that to me now, I'd be like, there's no way. There's no way.
NBD, really.
All right. I'm going to have a little quiz here, and I know we're all going to lose to Ashley, but because you said that you did 95K in 5 days in your first year at the Mission Viejo, basically. So you're averaging like 18K a day. I think in my head, how many times I've swum 20K in a day? And I maybe have done 20K in a day. No, over 3 practices. I've done it like 4 or 5 times in my entire career. How many times have any of you guys swum 20K
0
in one day? I've done it 4 times.
Never. Why would I do that? That sounds awful.
Ashley's done it like 100, right?
No. Well, I've done it a decent amount, but not that many.
Not 190. Come on.
No, I would say our like average at Mission was like 80K a week.
But you did 20K days. I sure you did 3 days with 8,000, 5,000, 8,000. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've done one 25K race, but I vowed to never. Becca is like trying to get me to do these channel swims, and I'm like, there's no way.
No.
There's no way.
Do you ever have to take your goggles off during those? Because I always clear out my goggles after like almost every rep or every other rep, and I can't do it. So that's one thing that bothers me from like a 50, even like 1,000 or 1,500. I'm like, I gotta clear these out.
I'm so with you. My coaches make fun of me because I will get a new pair of goggles for like every single race I do. I like change them out every week. I hate foggy goggles.
That's a good horse name, by the way.
Foggy goggles.
It's open waters. It's not fair. Sorry. How do you know you swam 25K? And like channel swims, it's, you know, A to B looks 25K, but you might end up swimming 40K, 50K. It's currents. I mean, how do you guys feel about that? About like some 25Ks are more than 25K or less than 25K based on, I guess 25Ks, you guys got a set course, right? Pretty straight lines. Mm-hmm. Right. So it's you don't go off too much.
Yeah, but there are definitely like, I mean, depending on like conditions, or like who's leading, like you definitely may go off course. But I think that's why like still to this day, people will ask me when I finish a 10K, like, what was your time? And I'm like, I have like, there is not one time I have finished an open water race and wondered what my time was. Like it just like literally means nothing to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'll tell myself that the 25K I swam was like a 40K, and that's why it was so absolutely brutal.
Yeah. Me too.
All right, John's got to bounce. Thanks, John. We'll see you next time.
Yep. Thanks, Ashley. Yeah.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Thank you.
You too.
So, Ashley, what's the worst conditions that you've ever experienced in an open water race?
The worst conditions. I did a race in France in, I think it was 2018, and it was, I should send you guys a video after. We took a video before the race, but it was just like torrential downpour, like to the point of hail, and cold. But like when you're swimming, like you don't really realize. But we like, as we were finishing, like, so we finished the race and Haley Anderson won, and Ana Marcela from Brazil got silver, and I got bronze. And so like Haley and I were like pumped, and we did well. We got 2 of the medals, and we finished, and like literally like had just touched a touchpad, and Bryce, like the open water manager for swimming, is like screaming at us to get out of the water, and we're both like, I'm like, what's going on? But it turns out it was like thundering and lightning. But and I don't know if it was just like things were more relaxed in Europe, but like they were just letting us swim, and he was like, get out of the water now. So that was probably worst conditions. But I've also done like really hot races and like really cold races before they had the wetsuit rule. So in 2012, the Olympic qualifier was in Portugal, and the water was like 60, maybe 61, no wetsuit. And that for 2 hours, like that's pretty cold. That's really cold.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I feel like 64, 65. I don't know. Maybe 66 is kind of the sweet spot. Yeah, you're good.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I think that like mid 60s is ideal. Do you have like an ideal temp for open water? Is that it?
Sorry, that's my dog. There's a delivery man. I really like low 70s would be like my sweet spot.
Whoa. Oh, that's higher than I would have thought.
Yeah. But like to practice in, like give me like 80. Like I like warm water.
Wow.
Oh,
yeah.
Totally. I remember at the beginning of the season, we would there was one time in particular we used to swim at this like city pool while they did something in the regular Auburn pool. So like at the beginning of the fall, we'd go out to this other pool, and they had drained it and they were filling it back up. And everybody knows that like when they're filling the pool back up and it's been drained, it can be super cold. It wasn't even all the way full yet. And I just remember this one day that it was like, you know, I like looking at my hands, like everybody's totally shivering, and
just like
I swear, like it had to be low 70s, and that was brutal. I was totally.
But it's crazy. Like a 70-degree pool is like absolutely freezing, but like a 70-degree lake is like beautiful.
Why is that?
I have no idea. It's like I would never do a practice in a 70-degree pool, like ever. But like throw me in a 70-degree lake, and like it's nice. It's so weird.
Yeah, I used to live in the mountains near Santa Cruz, and so I did, when I first moved to California, I was like, just after business school, and I retired from swimming, and I was curious about triathlon, so I did this triathlon, but I hadn't like done a ton of them yet. I did own a wetsuit. I was like packing to go to do this race, and actually while packing my car up in San Jose to drive to Santa Cruz, I went outside, and then I had left my car door open in the driveway, and I look out in the driveway, and there's a raccoon with its paws on my seat. And I'm like, hold a second. And I look at that, it's caught me so off guard. I went, is that a cat? And as I said that outside, the raccoon like jumps off of my seat and then looks at me and just stares. You know, they're so menacing. He didn't go anywhere. He didn't run away. And I'm like, oh shit. So then I like take a step at the raccoon, get it to scamper away. And then I go shut my car door, and I'm like looking inside to make sure there's not any more raccoons in there. So then I go back inside. I get the last little bit of my stuff, because like triathlons, there's a lot of gear. I drive to Santa Cruz. I'm unpacking all my things to go and do this triathlon. And then I figure out, I'm looking around, I got my bike, I got all my gear, no wetsuit. Turns out the raccoon had distracted me so much that I forgot to go back inside and get the wetsuit. I went and grabbed my coffee, but I forgot the wetsuit. And so I'm sitting there like having this decision of, okay, I've got like an hour and a half till the race starts. Do I drive home and get the wetsuit, or do I just risk it? But I was terrified of like super cold water in the ocean.
Yeah.
So then I decide it's like not enough time. I go to transition and I like set my bike up, and then I start walking around transition. I'm like, hey, do you guys have any wetsuit rentals? Is there like anybody who has one? And the number of people that said to me, oh, the water's really warm this year. It's like 64. And I was like, oh, excuse me, weakling who just thinks that mid-60s water is like so cold. Like it is cold. It's very cold.
It's very cold. So yeah.
People are different with their.
Wait, so did you end up swimming without a wetsuit?
So I got really lucky. I walked around to so I'm 6'4", and which is like not easy to find another person who's that height in triathlon, but every person who was even remotely close to my height who I saw, I went, hey, do you have a spare wetsuit? I'm so sorry, I forgot a wetsuit. And I did that for like half an hour. And then finally there was one guy who goes, actually, yeah, I do have a spare one, and we're about to go for a little shakeout run. If you follow me to my spot, I'm staying right there. You got it. So,
amazing.
The community aligned and rallied behind, and I got this. It was a sleeveless wetsuit, but hey, I took what I could get. It was totally worth it.
Just covering the core is
My gosh, and that was only for 1,500, but. Well, I don't know if the current Luke had any influence on me. Maybe I swam a little bit longer than 1,500.
Yeah, maybe it was like a 2,500.
Yeah. I'm trying to find a picture of Brian on a boat, layered in towels that we put about 10 towels over him to warm his ass up. Oh, because we would swim the Trans Tahoe relay, right? Oh. John, Brian, and I, and 3 other people, and the water temp was 58 one year, and we have no wetsuit. And Brian was the lead off, so he had to stand on the beach in his suit with nothing else on for the start. And when you came out the water, Brian, even though the air temp was 80, you couldn't get your core up after half an hour in that water for a long time. I remember that.
Just like the shivering from like inside. That's the worst feeling.
Yes.
Yeah. And anybody who knows me, like I run, run hot, run cold. I hate cold weather. I don't do well in cold. And so, but also you have to get in the water first. That's brutal. Over and then stand on the cold beach after you're already wet. So then, because they won't let the boats like pull all the way up. So yeah, that was rough. It was just like couldn't stop shaking for a very long time. But that's why I don't do open water.
He's just shivering there.
Oh, and the weather, you can just tell too. The weather, like there's no sun. That's terrible.
No sun, super cold. All I want is like a beach day in the summer, or like a lake day in the summer with beers, and that's anything but that's first thing in the morning. Have you ever done that race?
No, I never have. I've done. I used to do the Tiburon Mile a lot. And I love that. But that water was really cold, but it was a mile, which makes it more bearable. But similarly, like you finish that, and then you get off onto the beach, and then to get back to shore, you have to like get back in the water, and it's just like the worst like 30 seconds ever. Like, because again, like during the race, like, and that, like you have got adrenaline, like it's not horrible, but then to like get back in, it's like, What
do you think about? Actually, go ahead, Luke.
I was just wondering, you've medaled at the highest level in the pool and in open water, Worlds and Pan Ams, right? You have medals in each. Does one mean more to you than the other, the pool medal or the open water medal?
No, I don't think so. I think just like different races. I don't think it depends on pool or open water, but like when I won the gold medal in 2017 at Worlds in the 5K, like that one I was really proud of, because 2 days prior I had done the 10K and like really wasn't happy with the race. Like it felt terrible. Like it was one of those races where you dive in and like from the first stroke, you're just like, oh, this isn't going to be good. Like it just hurt. And then like it being a 10K, it's like, okay, this is like really not, like, I just felt like I was sprinting and trying so hard from the beginning. And I remember texting actually Coach Rose after that 10K and being like, I don't know how I'm going to bounce back to the 5K. And like, I was able to just like mentally and physically recover. And so that one I'm really proud of, being able to like kind of bounce back from that mentally. That 5K. And then 2016 short course Worlds, I swam the 800 and 400. There wasn't a 1500 yet for women, but I like almost didn't like, I don't know why it's giving me the thumbs up.
It's because you got your hand right there.
I almost didn't, like, I remember getting the invite to that meet and being like, I don't like, I don't know if I belong on this team. Like, I didn't really feel like I belonged on like a pool, like world championships team. And then, you know, I ended up winning a silver medal, I think. And so like that, I'm, you know, really, hold on, give me 1 second. My baby's that's fine. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
I'll be right back. Sorry, I'm back with a friend.
Oh, good. I was hoping you would. Yes. First time.
Yes. We got it.
There's screaming bloody murder, and I'm the only way to stop it. So, no, so 2016, I remember being like, I don't think I should even, like, I don't think I belong on this team. And then being able to, like, relax and, like, trust in myself and then, like, win a silver medal. And granted, it's, like, the short course world. And still, I'm, like, explaining myself. It's, like, the short course world's after the Olympics, so there's not as much competition. But, like, it was short course meter, so I didn't really know times, but like I converted my time and I was like, this is actually a really good time. And then I had the 400 2 days later and I actually went slower than I went out in my 800. And so, but like that 800, like I'm really, really proud of that medal too, because I didn't really feel like I even like belonged on that team. And then to be able to bring home a medal for like Team USA was really special.
You're known to, yes, it was, I agree. But you've known in your mile, you said open water, you take it out. You get away from the park, you leave from the front, and that's how you swim in open waters. What's the strategy behind that? And do you try to approach your 1500 like as a pure sprint? I'm trying to get like, how does a 10K specialist become third at trials? What's your strategy to swim 1500 having such a 10K specialty behind you?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, if I like have the word sprint in my head, like it's not going to go well, because when I try to like sprint, it's like flailing and it just doesn't for like that, what I just mentioned, like the 400 being slower than I went out in my 800, like it just, it doesn't work for me. And so I think for me, I just like try to be like comfortably strong, and like the same for a 10K, the same for a 400. Like that's what's like really crucial for me is, being comfortably strong. And so like in a 1500, like I know my start is terrible and my turns aren't great. So like I know I'm going to be behind at the 100, and like being okay with that and like being able to like work myself back up and remind myself that even though it's a lot shorter than the 10K, it's still a 1500. Like I still have plenty of time. And so I was, you know, proud of myself at trials last summer, for example, for like how I approached the 1500, both in prelims and finals, and just, it was like the most fun I've ever had in Olympic trials. I just felt like really no pressure, low pressure. Like I said, I didn't know what to expect from my comeback. And even when I decided to come back after having my baby, I didn't think it would be in the pool. I just thought I would do open water. And then, you know, when the open water qualification kind of came and went and I missed that, it was like, well, I've been putting in the work. Like I might as well go to pool trials. And so then to see how that went was really cool. But I went with, you know, I wanted to do really well, of course, but I didn't have a certain time I wanted to go. I wanted to make the final. I didn't necessarily think I wanted to make the Olympic team. I didn't think that it was necessarily in the cards. And so to just be able to go and kind of be relaxed. And again, like I finished warm up and got to like go hold my son in the stands, who was just about 2. Like that was so cool. And it was just a whole different perspective than I had in my previous, I guess 4 Olympic trials, which is crazy. That was my 5th one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez. That's wild. Is there anything still hanging out there for you? Are there some like goals or carrots that are like keeping you, that are in the back of your mind going, I'd really love to do that one thing, whether that's like a time or an accomplishment or a place to go?
You know, I think, you know, like I said, I really am taking it day by day now, but it was a short and quad last time. So I think it will be cool to see with a little more time, what I could do. And, especially like time wise in the pool, I feel like my first long course, meet back was last January. So I was like 18 months out from having my son. And my training was actually going really well. And I actually thought, I was like excited. I went to I think it was the Richmond like pro swim series, in January, and or maybe Atlanta. And I was excited. Like I thought I would not go a best time, but like I was thinking like low 16 minutes. And I went a 16, I think it was like a 16:28. And it was so painful. And being like, again, like, oh man, like I'd done a short course, you know, 1,000 that went well. But long course is a lot different. And so I think with a little more time, I think my competition times could have gotten down there too. So, yeah, I want to see what I can kind of do time-wise in the pool, but not necessarily anything that I'm still like, I want to do this before I like officially retire.
It's interesting how your priorities change. I mean, my dream was the Olympics, as most swimmers are, and and then priorities change, and I got kids, and my kids were my priorities, and work, and then and then giving back to the sport. And now I'm 50 years old. I'm like, dang, I wanna see what my body can still do while I can, and do something with it. So let's go to World Championships and see what happens. And let's be healthy and happy to be where you're at, and it's a blessing, to be able to do what we do at this age. Not many people can do what we do. So
yeah, I think that's exactly it. And I think another thing that kind of changed that for me, like I said, when I missed making the team in 2012, it was like, okay, like I want to make an Olympics. Like that was the goal. And I missed again in 2016. And then when I finally qualified in 2019, I was, like over the moon excited. And then it obviously got delayed in a year. And like the Olympics were amazing. And of course it was COVID, so it looked a little bit different, but like the training trip was amazing. The Olympics were amazing. Like I'm so grateful for the experience, and I'm really proud of myself for like persevering through 8 years of not making it and making it. But I also realized at the end of the day, like just because I made the Olympics doesn't make me any different. Like you can have like, it's a label, but like I'm still the same person. And so knowing that too has made it kind of like, I don't need to like make another team to like, I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone. I know also, as long as I'm like putting in my best and seeing what I can do, like that's what's really special. And that's what's really cool.
Yeah.
It's going to be dangerous for some of these Masters world records that you're going to destroy later on. It's going to be great. I don't even know what some of these are. Oh, we were just looking at the qualifying times for Masters Nationals. Let's see what you think about some of these. So we got the 1500 free women in the 35. Wait, how old are you? 30?
I'm 35, but I'll be 36 in a few weeks. So I think I would age up, right?
It's a 23:51. You think you got that in you?
I think I can do that, yeah.
Let's go back through these. The 800 is a 12:20. The 400 is a 5:49. You were saying that you might be able to break 5 minutes at 40 weeks pregnant, so that's pretty good. Yeah, I think you could quite.
I think I can make those.
You should look up the records. That's what you have to do.
Yeah.
We looked up some records, not for my age group, but we were looking at them for a kid who sometimes trains with us. He swam at NC State. He was a phenomenal swimmer. I think he finaled in like 3 events at trials in 2016, Christian McCurdy. But I was like, you should swim, and he still swims with us sometimes. So I was like, you should swim some Masters meets and see if you can set some records. But a lot of the records are really fast, at least for whatever we were looking up for him. It was like 26 to 30, I think. But there's like some past Olympians who have all those records.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. I've like Anthony Irvin's got a bunch of the 53 records. I feel like he's shown up. It's like 21-4 for the men's 35, 30.
Yeah, that's crazy.
35 39. I'm like, okay, nobody's reading that.
Yeah.
All right, we got a few rapid fire. We'll let you go.
Okay.
What's the hardest race in swimming?
The 10K. Does that count, or you mean like pool swimming?
Yeah, sure. 10K counts. Yeah.
Okay.
Olympic gold or world record?
Olympic gold.
In what event? 10K?
Yeah.
All right. If you could only keep 3 phone apps and all the rest of them have to get deleted, which 3 are you keeping?
Can I look at my phone? Instagram.
Yeah.
I couldn't do without.
Good.
This isn't rapid fire, but now I'm looking.
You're good.
Maybe it's a good sign. I'm not like tied to anything. Oh, with Rivian, because I have a Rivian car and I never have my key with me, so I want to be able to go anywhere without my phone. My phone died the other day while I was at the pool, and thankfully Becca was with me, so she had to drive home and get my key and come back.
Oh, fail.
Yeah, and so I literally would be in big trouble without that. And the Publix grocery store apps, I use that all the time. Or Target, because I do Target online ordering too. Those are showing my age too.
Yeah, they definitely are. You're in mom mode, but you should get a Publix sponsor if you don't have one.
I should. I would love that.
What's your favorite thing to take home from Publix?
Oh, a boar's head turkey sub.
Oh, those are
Oh,
good.
the Publix subs. That reminds me of my first job lifeguarding. I used to walk over to Publix and get a
they're
sub during
so
my
good.
break and spend about as much money as I just made the last hour on that sub.
They're so good.
That's how
Yeah.
it goes.
Yeah.
All right. Kids and husbands, what's the most annoying thing that either one of them can do?
My son asks, his thing is to set a timer for everything. So if it's like time for bed, set a timer. So that is like, now my phone at like 7 p.m. it's like Siri suggests setting a timer. I'm like, oh, this is a bad sign. I set too many timers for my kid. So I need to lay down the law with him. Husband, and he knows this, he can sleep through anything. So again, with like a newborn, like he'll wake up in the morning, like she'll be up all night and he'll wake up in the morning and be like, how was the night? I'm like, just don't ask.
It's
just
like
don't
damned
ask.
if he does or damned if he doesn't. You
Yeah.
cannot ask, but you can't ask. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I'd be mad if he didn't ask, but when he asks, it's like, must be nice to not know.
All right. What's the best race that you've ever seen live in person?
Best race I've ever seen live in person. When you're going to say best race, I was going to default to the Jason Lezak, but I'm pretty sure everyone would, but I wasn't lucky enough to see that in person. I was just going to say again, Katie Ledecky's 800 a few weeks ago, but again, I wasn't there. I watched it on the computer, so I guess that doesn't count, but that was phenomenal. I was actually texting her when I was in the delivery room with her, Katie, because like I texted her about the 1500 and 400. Sorry, this isn't rapid fire, but
Yeah.
like earlier, I think it was like Thursday, and I was like, it's just so inspiring to see how she's doing. And again, at an older age and having done that, like gone through it myself, it's really cool to see. And so then she swam the 800. I think it was Friday night or Saturday, because I had her Saturday. And I was like, she set the world record. I texted her, I was like, Katie, that was amazing. And she texted back being like, thank you so much. Like, it must be baby time soon. And I was like, yeah. And then I texted an hour later and I was like, actually, I literally just had her. She was like, you were texting while you were in labor? I'm like, yeah, but I had an epidural, so I wasn't like in pain. But that was funny. But that I mean, even though I wasn't there in person, like it's really, really cool to see her doing what she's doing. She's not as old as me, but she's had a long career too. And I mean, I can't even imagine the pressure on her just from everyone. And so to see her be able to do what she's doing is like super, super inspiring. And just the person she is, like no one deserves it more.
That's nice.
Totally.
You talking about
yeah, for sure. And go ahead, Luke.
No, I was just saying you're talking about goats and who's the open. I didn't know who the open water goat is for women.
Open water what?
Goat, greatest of all time.
For men or women?
Woman.
I mean, Ana Marcela Cunha from Brazil, like just like every race she's in, almost every race she's in, she medals. And like, it's obviously a combination of like mental and physical, but like anyone who's done open water, like knows that like you're like, most people like have bad races or like something, but like she is able to just like from a 5K to a 10K to a 25K, like she is always able to pull out a medal. And so watching that and she's been like, we kind of have had similar like careers, like started around the same time. And so to be able to watch her do that is really cool. And then again, I mean, Sharon from the Netherlands, you can't count out. I mean, she won the gold in 2016 and then again in Paris. And so, silver or bronze in Tokyo. And so to, 3 medals in 3 Olympic Games and open water where like there's so many factors, like it's not as black and white as pool. Like that's really incredible and really impressive too.
All right. For somebody who's put as much volume in as you have, I can't imagine there's a whole ton of it, but how much social kick have you been doing in your life?
Any kick I do is pretty much social kick because it's none of it's fast. We used to do we like in warm up, we always have social kick. So I do that. But yeah, any kick I do is pretty much social kick. Cause even when I'm trying my hardest, it's just like not fast. So I can chat.
Love that. Ashley, you're a machine. It's such an honor to get to talk to you. Congrats on where you are in life on baby number 2. And yeah, I wish you the best with family and getting back in the pool and letting the journey just be what it may be.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Awesome.
Sorry for the start of the podcast.
It's all good. We
and then the end too.
And it's the best part.
It's all right. We're glad to have another guest. Since John left, we had to bring in number 4. So
yeah,
that's it for this episode of Social Kick. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.
Hey everyone, thanks for hanging out with us. If you enjoyed this episode of Social Kick and you'd like to see more, subscribe to the channel. And we love talking swimming, and we'd love to talk about swimming with you. So leave us a comment, and we'll see you next time.